be the judge every Wednesday at 6 p.m. I am Dr. Paul Dyer with my beautiful co-host, and that's plural, which is Marlin Pierre, soon to be Circuit Court Judge of Montgomery County in Maryland. I have to say Maryland because someone inboxed me and says, I didn't know where you guys were broadcasting from. So here we are, Maryland. We're broadcasting from Maryland, but we're not only talking about Maryland issues. There's a lot of Maryland issues that come up because of our guests and people that we are around that come on the show. But you can always join us, inbox us, if you want to join the show and you want to voice your opinion or voice your understanding or information. We love to hear from you. So we're broadcasting from Maryland, but we go out worldwide. So thank everyone for listening. And I have to let everybody know, you can get everything on all your podcast channels. But I didn't know this. I just found this out this week that we have a show that someone listens to our show and comments on top of it. I find it very amusing. It was quite fascinating that they were listening to the show and they were commenting on top of the show to podcast their show. To let people know.
Interesting. Where is that? I guess you'll tell me later.
Yeah, it's a podcast show. He calls it reviewing the something. So he reviews all these podcasts and he talks about them as they're going on live, and he comments over the comments we have and how silly or how smart or how good. So I've listened to like 2 or 3 of his shows. And I happened to find it, and I just was like, wow, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know people out there actually were good for them.
Good for them, exactly.
Good for them.
It's like when my kids watch people who are watching people play video games.
Yeah,
I always thought that was interesting. I mean, the same thing with all sports. When I watch people watch sports, sometimes I'm like, would you rather be out there and playing it yourself?
Yeah, playing it, yeah, I agree. But I don't agree with I don't understand the whole watching people play video games. I don't really understand that, but that's for another show. So here you go.
You watch people play basketball.
Yeah, but I actually play basketball because I have my favorite team, but I actually play. So I don't know if that's the same. Now, if you've never played, I don't know. We all get old. But let's go with this. I got a couple things. We already know that there was an election yesterday in Virginia, Jersey, Boston.
Okay.
And we have a
special. We're not going to introduce our guest first.
We will, but I have.
Okay.
I want to get this. We have a special guest, Darius A. Stanton, on here, and he is for being bold for good. Trust me, and he's a leader amongst leaders, man. I tell you, the guy's an amazing man. But we had an election yesterday, and I want to put this out there because I always like to put myself out on the airways. I'm fully transparent. The Democrats screwed the pooch, flat out, and they are running a campaign nationally that is not winnable. That's how I'm going to put that. Now, Virginia, with this lieutenant governor, with Ms. Sears, congrats to her for winning lieutenant governor of Virginia State. I understand what she stands for. I have reached out to her to get her on our show. So I hope that actually will be possible. I knew when she was running, I was watching her. I kind of knew she was going to win lieutenant governor. I just know her stance and stuff like that. So congratulating on Eric Adams and winning the mayor of New York. That was a huge win for New York. Eric Adams is about willing to put a lot of good businesses on Main Street in New York, Black businesses and minority businesses. So I'm super happy about that. I was in contact with his campaign staff. So we have a lot of work to do. And I'm going to tell you this from my bottom of my heart: vote for policy and not for people or politics. You got to vote for policy. You got to understand the policy of a people, because if you only vote party lines, you're going to get ran down the poop chute and you're going to get screwed again. So Marlin Pierre, part of my co-host, Judge Claudia Barber, will be here, soon to be here. Please, how's your week been before we get to Darius Stanton? How was your week?
My week has been very, very busy. How has your week been?
Oh, thank
but
you.
busy in a fun way, busy in a I could get it done kind of way. Not
Well,
like I think about 2 weeks ago when it was like,
well, when it comes to politics, I'm a hound. I love it. I what I don't like is human nature and feeling and people falling asleep. But I think that's why we have our guest on, so we wake up just a little bit.
well, and I think since we're starting out with politics, I actually voted yesterday because I live in the city of Gaithersburg, and we were voting, and these were city council members running and the mayor running. I always thought we need to spend a whole lot more time talking about local politics
I agree.
than you know because these are the people who actually affect our daily lives. Unfortunately, because in our county we do not have a local newspaper, we hardly ever know what's going on locally. We know a lot about what's going on nationwide since we are in we're in the suburbs of the District of Columbia.
Well, they do
So
that
that we hear
purposely.
about all the time, but local politics, not as much as we need to at all.
Well, they keep local politics to keep you in the slumber sleep, so the same old keeps going by, and that's
Hmm.
and that is the reason. That is the reason. The only way you understand local politics is if you dig in yourself, and you have to dig in,
That's true.
or ask someone who knows. And if you ask me, I'm going to give you my opinion, but I'm going to say go look here, look at this up. So you got to do your own digging. You have to do your own digging. I can't vote for you. I'm not going to pull your lever. I am not going to color in your dot. I'm not going to make sure your name is printed correctly. I'm not going to make sure you have your own ID. I'm not doing none of that. So do your own digging.
Yeah, but like I said, it just makes it so hard because instead of it coming to you like the local, well, like the federal news does, and what is of interest for the people with the big megaphone, you have to actually do the hard work of going out there and get it, and sometimes it's so very hard to find. Right.
Before we get to our special guest, if most of you people see me on the video on the live stream, you see I have a Diwali background. Diwali is a tradition of Hindus and Sikhs and other religious people, and it's about good over evil. It's the celebration of good over evil, and I think this is perfect because we have a man who fights for good constantly, and his opponent is of none. And I like that. There is no opponent against good. So, Marilyn, introduce our guest so we can get going because there's a ton of questions we have for him.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much for your patience, Mr. Stanton and everybody else. Everyone, our special guest today is Darius A. Stanton. Mr. Stanton is the CEO of the Stanton Group Incorporated. It's a management consulting and human development firm. He's the vice president of optical business development, the vice president of the Clean Green Tour International Environmental Education Company. He is. I want to go down a little bit because I'm skipping some of his bio because it's so long and vast and extensive. He is also the vice president of the Maryland Black Caucus Foundation. Mr. Stanton has a master's degree in human services from Lincoln University. He is also the former drug czar in Mayor Hopkins's administration and Anne Arundel County. Let me see. Oh, is it Annapolis? Yeah, I guess it's the city, so I should say Annapolis instead. And Mr. Stanton is coming to us today because he would like to talk to us about retooling leadership. Mr. Stanton is also the host and executive producer of podcast Peace in the Morning Show and Lights of the Roundtable on Facebook and YouTube and on cable television, a daily morning talk show titled Good News Boy. So, ladies and gentlemen, should we drum roll? Please welcome Mr. Darius A. Stanton as our special guest today. Mr. Stanton, you have the floor.
Peace and love. Well, let's get all pumped up and ready to go. Pumped up and ready to go. Win, win, win. All pumped up and ready to go. Pumped up and ready to go. Win, win, win. All pumped up and ready to go. Pumped up and ready to go. Win, win, win. Good evening. Peace and love. Thank you so much for having me on. You be the judge. I'm excited. I am grateful. I am thankful. I am very humble. I am very humble, and I'm very grateful to God and all of our good and righteous ancestors for giving me an opportunity to be among such fine people. I have a great deal of respect for Judge Claudia Barber, Esquire Marlin Pierre, and Dr. last but not least, Paul Dyer. Thank you all, as well as your guests, for having me on You Be the Judge, and for the exceptional work that you all are doing, bringing exceptional information to our young people and our seasoned people on the planet Earth. Peace and love.
Peace and love, King Darius. Can you tell us a little bit? We're here to talk about retooling leadership. And so we want to know, what does that mean to you? If you could explain it to us and educate us about that.
Certainly. Well, let me ask a few quick questions. When you think about our current leadership, Democratic, Republican, sports, what have you seen that's really changed? Have you seen anything that's really changed in terms of how we treat each other? Has it gotten better or worse in the political arena? Is it when you watch anybody who's in the New York, New Jersey area, anybody who's in the District of Columbia, Virginia area, did you get a chance to see any of those ads that were being used for political campaigns? Were they positive or were they negative?
They were negative. They were all negative. And for those of you who want to call in, if you want to call in, you call 301-789-3174. But they were all negative, and I have.
Can you give that number again, please? I got some people that want to call in.
Yeah, if they want to call in, 301-789-3174.
Excellent, thanks. Yeah, so they were all negative. So I'm going to give you another statistic or set of statistics. There was a report done on African Americans 50 years ago, the Kirwan Commission. And the commission studied these 5 areas in the lives of African Americans: education, criminal justice or incarceration, home ownership, economics, so finance, and last but not least, in education, employment, incarceration, home ownership, and the 5th, healthcare, health. Out of those 5, there was only one where we made any stride. Anybody take a guess at which one we made a stride in? That was a positive gain out of the 5.
My guess would be education.
It was education. It was a very small bump. But my question to you is, what good is an education if you're still failing with your health, if you're still making less amount of money, if you still have less home ownership, if you're still incarcerated at a higher level? What good is an education? So one of the challenges we have right now in America and the world is we've even allowed people to now question the very watered down education that has been given in the United States and around the world about the contributions of African people. They had the audacity to even create something that they ran on called critical race theory, when it was already watered down, and it started with slavery and then beyond those 400 years. And you had a sprinkle here and there of Dr. King, and a sprinkle here and there of maybe Harriet Tubman, and a sprinkle here and there of a few other people. But imagine if you were a Black child going to school in America, and you got your history and your education about your contributions from your people from our current education system. What you do is you basically get a book And through kindergarten through 12th grade, as you look through those books and you see those pictures, you wouldn't see many people that look like you. So what do you think your confidence and your self-esteem is like? What do you think you believe in terms of your place in education is like in America? Then think about being a young white boy, regardless of your grades, regardless of your behavior. But you go through kindergarten, seeing Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Eisenhower, you just name it, one president after another. Benjamin, what's the guy's name that they say they created the light bulb? Benjamin Franklin, right? Yeah. So you go and you see all of these white men and a few white women sprinkled here and there.
Right.
How do you think your confidence level is about being able to be successful in America?
It is
in the 12th grade when you graduate. You don't even think, well, this doesn't even matter whether you have a degree, because you see all these people that look like you. I gotta be great.
Preach, brother. Tell how it is.
So I bring those 2 points up. The first point about the 5 areas that African Americans have not succeeded in. But you can really look at that and go to white America. And you can look at our health as a population, as a nation. Mm-hmm. Take COVID, for example. 580,000 people died, as reported, in 2020 of COVID-19. They say the number now in 2021 is up to, I believe, 800,000 people in the United States of America.
Yes, sir.
But here's the key question. Out of the 580,000 people that died, in 2020, and let me take you back. In 2019, 1.7 million people died of the following in America:
suicide,
cancer, obesity,
suicide,
diabetes, heart disease. Those 4 things. And guess what causes those 4 things? High fructose corn syrup.
I'm going to add one more, Darius.
Yes,
suicide.
So suicide, I'll talk about that. And suicide, yes, is very drastic. 40,000 people annually die of suicide, to my knowledge and my research. 20,000 people die of homicide. So if you look at those 4 pre-existing conditions, and then you look at the numbers, and 1.7 million people died annually, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015. But what did we do about that?
Nothing.
So you had 580,000 people in 2020 that died, and you shut the whole system down. My point is, out of the 580,000 people that died, the average age was 74. The majority of them had pre-existing conditions. Now, I'm not at all saying that COVID isn't real, because it's very real. And I mourn the people who've been lost as a result of COVID. But what I am going to say is that we've allowed our system to sell us something that's approved by the FDA, which is called high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup, if you go look in your refrigerator right now, or your cabinets or your freezer, you're going to see high fructose corn syrup on most of those items. As a matter of fact, now they even have some labels in the store that read in bread, no more high fructose corn syrup, or no high fructose corn syrup, or in the ketchup, no high fructose corn syrup, or in jelly.
Well, and it's also not only is it okay for the federal government to let us put this into our food and into our bodies, but it's actually subsidized. So a lot of things are more expensive as a result of not having high fructose corn syrup in it. So if you're someone of a lower economic level and you have to watch your pennies, you say to yourself, well, I could feed my children an apple, but that's not going to keep them full for the whole night. Or I could buy this product that is full of high fructose corn syrup, and that will keep them fuller for the night. So it's really insidious how our own tax dollars are being used against us.
Right.
Hold on, Darius. You mentioned something, Marlin, and it comes down to what Darius is saying. One's economics. We are living our lives because most people who are below the economic line are suffering in such high, tremendous areas. mental health, like you keep going, but there's so much more on top of this.
So I brought up the issue, those 5 areas. So in 50 years, if we haven't improved in 50 years, then we have to retool how we lead. Because apparently the way that we're currently leading has
It's
not
not working.
bared good results.
Mhm.
And so what I am suggesting is that we retool how we lead. And the first thing that we have to do in terms of retooling how we lead is we have to become asset-based versus deficit-based. So one of the platforms that I speak on, I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm looking for opportunities to bring our message to your college campus, to your corporation, to your community organization, to your youth organization, anywhere that you're working to build people to be bold for good, anywhere you want to see people grow, anywhere you want to see your organization prosper, anywhere that you want to see your community become more self-dependent and self-sustaining. And the reason why I use the comparison of asset-based communications versus deficit-based communications is I asked the question of Dr. Dyer answered it. He said that the ads that he watched were very negative. And if the ads that he watched were very negative, when they were running for office, they were promoting their campaigns, but they spent millions of dollars telling you what the other person is bad about or bad at or had done negatively or promoted negatively. And very few of those millions of dollars were spent on telling you what it was good that they had done or good that they were going to do for this particular electorate. And so what I'm challenging us to do is stop watching television and supporting news and media outlets that start off at the 6 o'clock news with who got shot, who got robbed, what negative thing is happening. And then way back at the 6:20 mark, 6:30, 6:40 mark, they start talking about the young people who graduated from Harvard, who now discovered the cure for obesity, or the young people who are 16 years old and have over $1.5 million in scholarships to attend, every Ivy League school. All of the tons of great stories that are out there, but we've been so conditioned to focus on the negative. I'll make it real basic for you. Think about this. Think about when you start a new job. And you get to the new job, you got your new clothes on, you're all excited, you're in the uniform, it's all ready, your hair's looking good, everything's sharp, right? You get on this new job, and what happens? You get on a new job, and what happens is simply, people start to tell you, hey, make sure you don't talk to Marilyn, because Marilyn's, she's not a good person. Make sure you don't talk to John, because John, he's a troublemaker. They don't say, make sure you go see Dr. Dyer. He's a real smart guy. He's a really smart guy, and he can help you out. Or, don't go talk to John. Make sure you go talk to Miss Janice, because Miss Janice knows everything about the building. She can help you out. They tell you all the people not to go see and who not to be with. They don't tell you the people that you need to go see to help you build your career, who you should connect with so you can learn more about the organization. We're trained to talk about the deficits, and we've got to learn how to train our children in our community to learn and communicate about the positivity and the strength. It doesn't mean to just be in rose-colored glasses and not deal with real issue, but it means focus on the solutions. So here are 5 things I want to share with you that retooling are the keys to retooling leadership. And I recommend that you write these down. Number 1, put your ego in your back pocket. If you're a leader, you must learn how to put your ego in your back pocket. Do you know how many brilliant people are doing wonderful things in our communities that are helping thousands of people in our communities, but we're not working collectively. We're not working together. Do you know how many organizations actually look at other people's events and call each other and say, oh, they did that, but we could do that better? And they start putting other organizations down for doing good work in their community because they didn't do it? Put your ego in your back pocket. Do you know how many people who've been pastors of churches for 30 and 40 years? Do you know how many people who've been in the same office for 30 years? The same position? That can't be like you're that good that people need only you in that position. Put your ego in the back pocket so we can help more people. Number 2, lead with succession in mind. Lead with succession in mind. Lead with succession. So when you lead with succession in mind, I'm not sure if we're recording. If you're leading with succession in mind, then you're putting a focus on the next generation. You're putting a focus on all the good work that you're doing. You're making sure that somebody is in place to pick up that good work. And we don't lose it because we lose an executive director, because we lose somebody who's on the board. I went to Cuba and I met with people from the Cuban Congress. And we asked the question before, this was when Fidel Castro was still alive. And we asked the question, what would happen if Castro died? And they responded, Castro is not the revolution. The people are the revolution. I bring that up because we have to learn how to lead with succession in mind. If you are already the manager, if you're already the supervisor, if you already own the company, why do you have to have your name on everything? Why wouldn't you give the person who created the idea, who put it all together and packaged it, give them the credit? They did the work. Imagine how good you would feel if somebody did a lot of work. I did a whole bunch of work. I gave it to my supervisor. He was with the board. And at the board meeting, he said, oh man, listen, I really want to share this report. And just to let you know, Darius Stanton did this. I would feel so excited because somebody gave me credit. Not that you need credit all the time, but it sure does help if people acknowledge you for your good work. Also, learn how to share the stage. Learn how to share the microphone. If your office, if your department, if your business is getting an interview by the television station, the newspaper, or the radio, bring somebody else with you on your staff, on your team, so they can get some prime time. So they can tell people, I'm going to be on the news tonight. So you can share the fact that I'm going to be on television. Succession also means that we're going to help people to pave ways and take the good traits that we have and also teach them how to leave those bad traits behind. We have to lead with succession in mind so we can keep our movements going. Number 3, put people over profit. Put people over profit. See, the challenge that I have with what's going on right now and our current medical situation is that we allow Johnson & Johnson to create a medical treatment for the current virus we're dealing with. Do you know that in 2020 and 2021, that Johnson & Johnson was actually found to have asbestos talcum powder in baby powder that they stopped selling in the United States, but are still selling overseas with talcum powder, which is asbestos in baby powder? Do you know how many women, children, babies were donned with baby powder and grown up with that? Do you know how many women suffer from many diseases and cancers as a result of asbestos? Do you know that they also were found all over the country, sued by multiple states' attorneys for having pushed and promoted opioid? The heroin crisis that we're dealing with right now in our country is enlarged. Because, look it up. Anything that I say, you can go look it up. And last but not least, they just pulled 5 of their own sunscreens off of the counter because they found that they had cancer in them. Now, do you think in the midst of a pandemic and a health crisis that we should have gone to Johnson & Johnson and asked them to make a vaccine when they have done all of these things that have been medically unethical? I asked that question because guess what? We have to put people over profit. And what happens in America right now, Senator Chris Van Hollen, Congressman Bobby Rush have put forth a bill. They're retooling leadership. They put forth a bill. The bill is to strike the punishment clause in the 13th Amendment. The punishment clause in the 13th Amendment is actually the clause that allows and provides for people who are incarcerated and found guilty of a crime to be still treated as, guess what? S-L-A-V-E-S, slaves.
Still.
In 2021, it is legal slavery in America. If you have committed a crime, you are now able to be treated as a slave. That is what the 13th Amendment punishment clause currently reads. So retooling leaderships means, guess how that happens? Because in 1984, the Democratic Party, which I happen to be a Democrat, the Democratic Party, Bill Clinton, our current president, put forth, what's his name? Joe Biden, put forth a bill called the crime bill. The crime bill put more people in prison than ever in the history of our time. And we lead the nation, we lead the world in incarcerated people. And these people happen to be African Americans, majority of them, and they're still treated as slaves and given slave wages to do work in prisons, which, by the way, after the numbers started to decrease in prison population with African Americans, guess what became an issue in the United States of America? Immigration. Where do you think that the population, because the federal prisons that were private, they sued the government or threatened to sue if they did not create a greater number of participants or prisoner inmates to fill up those prisons? Again, don't take my word for it. Go look it up. So let's move on. The next one, put principle over politics. Principle over politics. Here's an example for you. And when I say politics, you know, as a young man, you mentioned, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Queen Marilyn. I appreciate it. I worked as a young man as the drug czar in the city of Annapolis. And what I learned in the role of drug czar is that politics does not just land in the political arena. I was young and naive, and I thought, I got to get out of this office because I was tired of being attacked and my principles and values being questioned, not because of the work or the policies and programs that I was putting forth, like anti-drug dealing programs or programs that focused on bringing young people who were on this corner selling drugs to come off of the corner and start setting up businesses. They attacked me because I was tied to a particular politician. So I left and thought, I'm going to leave this rat race of politics and I'm going to go work in another organization, which was the Boys and Girls Clubs. And so I ran Boys and Girls Clubs in Annapolis, Anne Arundel County, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, the District of Columbia, and Baltimore City. And I learned very quickly that politics is not about just being in a formal political structure, but it happens anywhere. In the office, God knows when I joined the church administrative board, I was floored by the fact that the people in there were laying people out, cussing people out, mad, lying, all kinds of stuff, and they wanted, and it was still politics, right? But we have to learn how to put principle over politics. Principle over politics. So that means if somebody is politically influencing you to make a decision on the job, men, you still have to take a stand because we should be men for domestic peace. You should not turn the other cheek because it's not that popular. You shouldn't treat the person that you think is the CEO or the board member better than you treat the other people in the building, like the janitor or the secretary. Put principle over politics, because when you put principle over politics, then that means you're going to lead with things that are going to be just and righteous, and not things that are being influenced by money or by ego or something else that you may get out, whether it's personal gain or some fear. Lead with principle over politics. And last but not least, if you're a leader in the 21st century, You have to lead with the environment in mind. The environment. What is that? What do I mean by the environment? First, the environment of peace. We have to make sure that our workplace, our homes, our families, our communities are peaceful. Dr. Dyer mentioned the fact that, did you all know that 40,000 people a year kill themselves in suicide, by suicide, and 20,000 people a year are killed by other people in homicides? That means 2 to 1. There are 2 to 1 more people that are actually killing themselves. What would bring people to the point of killing themselves? Because we live in a culture and an environment that is torturous. I want you to think about something. The country of France just acknowledged that over 220,000 people had been sexually abused and raped by, guess whom? Catholic priests. And guess what? All over the world, that number of people who have been sexually abused and assaulted by priests is astronomical. And where in the world do you create a culture where you don't address that? And in the United States, the only place that I'm aware of that has put the state archdiocese on trial is in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
But what happened to all the other states? What happened to the United States government? The president just went to meet with
The Pope.
The Pope. And did he address the fact that all over the world, women and children are being sexually abused by priests? Still today, this isn't that number of 220,000 in France included the last 3 years. So the environment in terms of the culture that we create is very important. But of course, the other environment is our natural space. We've got to be sure that we include cleaning up the environment, that we include picking up trash. Don't just drop trash on the street. Pick it up, put it in the trash can. And last but not least, the environment involves our health. Write this down, please. You are what you digest. So if we're eating, I talked about high fructose corn syrup. If we're eating that and we're not drinking enough water, the body and the brain is 80% water. The body is made up of 75% water. You must drink water every day, all day long. And not things with red number 4, blue number 5, yellow number 6, that also cause cancer, by the way, that are also allowed to be sold in our foods. So I'll close with this. When you think about retooling leadership, we must retool how we lead so that we garner different results. We must have different results. We cannot continue to lead with our ego out front. We cannot continue to lead by putting profit in front of, without leading with a succession plan. Like, how many of you all have 10 people that you're training right now to do what you do, to become the leaders that you are? How many of you have that? Excellent, Dr. Dyer. Excellent, Ms. Aladupe. We must create those 10. How many people are really focused and understand the value that we can't lead with profit over people? That gets people killed. That's how you can have coal miners who are going into coals, mines. The only way they can feed their families and the only way that they can take care of their children and send them to school is going to this cancer-producing coal mine. And second to last is we've got to change and put principle in front of politics. We've got to put our ego in the back pocket, and last but not least, our environment. Well, we've got to lead with the environment in mind. And so I'm encouraging you to retool how you lead. And last but not least, I'll close on being bold for good. I don't know if we'll have time for that. There may be another conversation, but that is what I believe we need in the United States of America and around the world, is to retool how we lead.
Darius, thank you, Darius. And I'm going to open this up for questions. But my first question is that you're putting this all on individual people to be awoke and to care about waking up or to care about what they don't know. And it seems like, and I want to tell people when it comes to you be the judge, we want to give you information, hope you have an understanding, and hopefully you can put this into an action. Those are the three main reasons why we do this show: information, understanding, action. We talk, we express, we give our opinions, but ultimately, what are you being informed of? How are you understanding it? And hopefully you can make a difference and change something that you aren't not doing. So back to the question, Darius, and great distraction with the dog. I got a dog here. I'm feeding him. I got treats, and just so he shuts up. It's awesome. Well, I'm telling you, I got a bag of treats, and just so he stays quiet. Because they want to play.
He's not even my dog. He's been here 13 years. He's not mine, but yeah.
But how do we get individuals to say, you know what, I'm going to go do? Because that seems to be that is our cultural problem, cultural and different minorities and different cultures, and we have a United States culture of problem. That needs to be fixed.
So how we go do is we have to create campaigns. So the reason why I started doing television shows and being involved in media is because I recognized when I went back to school to get my master's degree that we're controlled by mass communications. Mass communication controls what we eat, what we drink. Why do you think they spend so much money on Super Bowl commercials? Okay, think about this. When children walk by McDonald's and they see yellow arches, they can't read, they can't write, they can't spell, they can barely talk, and they'll start screaming, I want some French fries, I want some French fries, I want some French, because the marketing has already got to them. So we have to market, we have to be bold for good. We have to create campaigns that are lively and energetic and fun that people want to be a part of so that we can start to attract, because it's energy that attracts. In the violent movies, it's the energy that brings people to them. Even in, unfortunately, the scary movies, it's the energy. And so we have to create environments and passion and movements that have energy that people can get excited about. And that's how we entice other people to do things that we need to do, because they need energy. People want energy. They just are so stuck. And unfortunately, people are afraid to stand up for just the basic things. So we want to encourage people to just start with yourself and just start writing, just start posting good things, just start doing things that are productive, that are constructive. And when you see something, say something positive. Hi. Good morning, peace and love. Start encouraging people. Start promoting other people. Find 5 people that you see doing good things and start promoting them. That's one thing you can do. Find 10 people or 5 that you believe in and you want to support and teach them how to do what it is that you're doing.
Well, let's start with something that you just said that is so simple yet so profound. Why do you greet people with peace and love, King so-and-so, peace and love, Queen so-and-so?
First of all, I believe in speaking what I want to see come into existence. Write this down, please. Words have power. Words have power. It's in the word, in the word, in the word.
And the words have meaning.
It's in the word, it's in the word. It's in the word because there's energy that's attached to the word.
That's right.
So why would I say and repeat HELLO, which is the root word of HELL? Don't we already have enough HELL on the earth without repeating it 1,000,000 times to each other every day? So why not promote a word that brings what we want to see come into existence? I want to see peace, so I speak peace. I want to see love, so I speak love. You want to see good, say good morning, say good grand rising, say whatever it is you want to say, but make sure that it has something substantive behind it. Like in the case of calling children, why would you call children kids? Bad, they're baby goats. Call children young people. Call children prince or princess. Calls them something that's going to empower them. Don't call them little N's or little B's or the devil. Oh, he ain't nothing but the devil. Why would you call your child the devil? So we have to use words that we want to see come into existence. Another quick point with regard to that. So think about this. People have been marching and rallying and shouting for justice, right? And one of the mantras that they shout is, no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. So what is the universe here? No justice.
And no peace.
No peace. No justice, no peace. Instead of saying, we will have justice, we will have peace. We will have justice, we will have peace. In the case of domestic violence. Why should we keep repeating, stop domestic violence? So what is the universe hearing? What are people still seeing? Stop domestic violence. So the words stop, okay, that's good. Domestic violence. What we need to say is men for domestic peace, women for domestic peace. Start speaking and having campaigns about what you want to see come into existence, what you can start to visualize. Stop speaking about what you don't want to have.
I see that Mitham's hand is up. Mitham, you want to ask a question? You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. A wonderful speech and very, very great revelation of facts, how we should be thinking positive. Thank you very much. And thanks the host for organizing this. I just wanted to say your speech is very positive and very eye-opening and very effective. But the problem is, how are you going to address the problem? Those are deep-rooted. And when people doesn't believe in positivity, doesn't believe in optimism, they only believe in possible corruptions and negativity. Like for example, I'm originally from India. So we have leaders like Mahatma Gandhi. Like when you are going to beat me up, I'm going to give another chick of me, and then you slap me, and then you get tired beating me, and then you leave the country. That's how the concept of non-violence. But that only happened to people who are really have some humanity. But it has happened in the past that people have killed, 2,000 plus people were killed in one incident in Jallianwala Bagh in India by General Dyer from British Army. He didn't believe in non-violence. He just shoot child, kids, and women. They didn't even have anything in their hands. How you can make them understand these things to make this world a better place to live? Thank you, sir.
Excellent question. Well, first of all, it starts with us, right? So we have to be able to do the things that we know that we can do to promote those positive things. We have to make sure that we are in position and we support things that are positive. Number two. So number one, do things positively yourself. Be bold for good. Number two, then support other things that are positive and constructive. Put your time in it, meditate about it, pray about it, and put your money behind it. You know, we like to see good politicians, but do we donate to campaigns of people that we know are successful in doing what we want to have done? Because guess what? Those people who do the things that we don't need to have done, those people who support the things that are not good for our communities, they're paying them and they're promoting and supporting their campaigns with a lot of money. So we have to get involved. And last but not least, you said something that was very interesting. You talked about what transpires. And so we have a lot of in India. And so we have something called classism. So what's going to have to happen is they're good people in the society. They're good Black people. They're good white people. They're good Indians. They're good people from Israel. They're good people from Palestine. They're good people from all over the place. But they're also bad people. So we got to stop supporting bad people. We got to stop putting people that we know are not good. I'm gonna tell you one of the worst things that it's been said. It was just said in this last election. The best of two evils. Throw that saying out the window. Write this down if you get a chance. It's very long, but it's very worthwhile repeating, saving, and sharing. We must only accept the acceptable.
Yep.
We must only accept the acceptable. Now, that's the asset-based way of saying it. If it was deficit-based, I would say we can no longer accept the unacceptable. But I'm not promoting the unacceptable, and I'm not promoting no longer. I'm promoting we will only do these things, and we will only accept the acceptable. You see the difference in the language? You see the difference in the mindset? So we have to change the words. We have to change the mindset. In order for us to be able to change people's visions, we have to change the minds first. And, you know, there's something else very interesting that I don't think people realize. Food is directly tied to how you behave. It's for another show, but that's what I'd say in terms of what we can do in terms of impacting people directly is do those things yourself. Surround yourself with other people that are doing them. Support and promote people who are doing those things and get behind their campaigns and promote and make sure you donate to them. Pray for them, meditate for them, and give them support and encourage them in other ways.
Dave Grogan, we're going to get to you, and Dave Grogan's actually running for sheriff of Prince George's County. So we want to give a shout out to Mr. Dave Grogan running for sheriff of Prince George's County in Maryland. So, and also, I saw my other co-host was able to get on, and that's Judge Claudia Barber, and I'm going to give her a little time to speak. But I actually want to answer Mitham's one question, and that's something that Darius Stanton said, and that's being bold for good. Those people who got shot in that courtyard that you're talking about during that that protest in India when Mahatma Gandhi had that protest, well, he actually wasn't there. Being bold for good means being okay and being positive for what you stand for. And yes, you're putting your life on the line. Because all great things, you must put your life first and joyfully. If you're worried about the fear, then you're not really putting yourself out there. You're worrying about the outcome, right? To make a change, ultimately, and I served in the military, you must put your life on the line for things that you believe that's going to happen. And if you're worried about the outcome, then you shouldn't be there. And you shouldn't be doing what you're going to do. And I don't like the word should at all. Good, Mr. Judge Claudia Barber, welcome. And I know you were a little late, but you're here now. Go ahead, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so delighted to see our peace and love gentleman, Mr. Darius Stanton. And he has been a wonderful contribution to the community. So I know that the elections occurred yesterday, and there were some highs and lows, and some cases around the country where the election is too close to call. But I encourage everyone to remember, of course, the late Dr. Martin Luther King. First of all, he died way too young. And I don't know if people have gotten a grip of that. He died when he was in his 30s. And we lost a huge, huge leader who was not liked by this country at all. He was reviled by this country. They hated him, but he was bold for good. He really, really was. And to the extent that he accomplished so much in the short time period he was here, that's wonderful. And his legacy continues to live on, and not just streets being named and monuments going up in his name. We have a national holiday in his honor, and but he truly galvanized this country in a positive way. Even though, again, he was hated, by the many people in this country. And he had so many opposition forces, but that still did not stop him for being bold for good.
Yes.
And that's kind of my contribution to today's program.
Thanks, Judge Claudia Barber. And Mr. Dave Grogan.
Yes, sir. Dr. Paul, yeah, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to comment. I was actually watching on Facebook Live, and I was so inspired by King Darius's words. I switched over to my computer. So I just wanted to thank King Darius for his words, and look forward to the discussion about how food impacts behavior, because we really got to dive into that. Especially for the next generation, our children, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Once we get, and it's not that complicated, but if we get a basic understanding that food ties directly to behavior, I think that's a fresh start moving forward.
And we're going into the food shortage, so people got to understand that. You think about the things you will do when you are hungry. And I don't know if anyone's ever been hungry, and I hope you've never had that issue ever. I'm just telling you, I have. I've been hungry where I have not eaten in 3 weeks. That's hungry. I have been there. You don't want to get there. Your mind's got to be right. Otherwise, it'll go sideways and it goes into a dark place. But Comfort, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I also want to thank Mr. Darius Stanton. You know, your words kind of resonates with me based on my background. Yeah, everything that you talk about in terms of education, health. I also, I study nutrition in college, although that's not what I'm doing now. And also, we believe you are what you eat. And also in terms of housing and finance and incarceration, just like you mentioned, because, I was also a victim of police brutality. My 26-year-old son was murdered by a Montgomery County police officer in 2011, over 10 years ago. The pain, the emotional roller coaster, and the financial burden is out of this world. I know the feelings. So, and I don't wish it on my worst enemy. So everything that you mentioned, I was writing it down, and it's like somebody already told you about my story, which I know I'm seeing you for the first time, and I heard so much about you. But, that prompted me to start this financial literacy. Because, when you lose a loved one, especially in my own case, my child was murdered 3 months before graduation in mass communication, just because of the color of his skin. You never get over it. Although as time goes on, I learned to manage the pain, and I'm using my pain positively to educate, minorities, especially women, on how we can advance. Don't get me wrong. I know the white people already gained the upper hand. I mean, come to think of it, 400 years of free labor. I mean, it's going to take us a while before we can, meet up the path in the coming to Africa. I was born in Nigeria. I'm the real African in America. But, the same thing happened. They divide and rule. They're going to say, one tribe is better than the other, and people fighting each other. And they don't have time to look at the just like you said, there is good and bad in every nationality. We have bad Nigerians, we have bad Americans, but we also have good people. Good people. We have corrupt politicians. We have, just like we have good, in every society. I believe we need good policing to maintain law and order in every society. That's a must. But you cannot tell me that there are no corrupt police officers. In broad daylight, we all watch what happened to George Floyd. And we saw, you know, before my son, Trayvon Martin, Walter Scott, the list go on and on, that I even have to go and now, you know, I'm helping people who are in similar situation, mothers who don't even know if their children are alive or dead.
It's okay if we're change agents. I mean, I believe that you're a change agent. I believe Dr. King has been a change agent.
Yes.
But it's okay for us to dream a dream where we can effectuate change now as opposed to 20 years from now. We realize who's in the majority, but that doesn't stop us from continuing this move towards righteousness and this move towards you know, doing what's right.
Exactly my point, George, because the good die young. You know, Jesus Christ died at 33.
33.
Yeah, and Martin Luther King, you know,
38.
You know, we study about Martin Luther King's history. I used to think he was a Nigerian, probably, you know, at a point in time, he might have been, but, you know, I mean, the good people who affect change, you know, you cannot be a coward, just like the king said. I mean, you cannot be a coward, you know, because when I put up this fight, I went to the White House. I spoke with President Obama, and he said he's aware. He put me in charge of policing in the 21st century. I went to the chief of police, Chief Minja. Just last month, I met with county executive. You know, the picture that I took, I share it with the judge to be, although she doesn't like me calling her that, Marlin Pierre. So, you know, I met with all these politicians because I hate for this to happen to another mother. So, you know, what you are doing, you know, we all cannot be prophets or pastors. This is God's work you are doing, sir. And we really appreciate this platform to share your knowledge with us, and you know, may God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Queen Comfort. I appreciate that, and my condolences to your family and all of those who have lost folks to senseless violence, especially at the hands of people who are paid to protect and serve us, and who have abused that privilege. When you think about even those people who are in law enforcement, and you think about, I want to share some statistics with you as it applies to alcohol. There are a great deal of law enforcement officers who beat their significant others, who are domestic violence, who perpetuate domestic violence, and a lot of that comes from the stress that they're under. To live in a society and to continue to do things that are perpetuated in a very negative manner. And therefore, in the case of sexual assaults, 40 to 60% of sexual assaults are as a result of alcohol. In the case of domestic violence, again, either between 40 to 60% of domestic violence cases involve alcohol. In the case of violence or homicides, again, 40 to 60% of those cases involve alcohol. And when you think about the homicides that take place in the inner cities, people say, well, why is there so much violence in the inner city? The reason why there's so much violence in the inner city, there was a study done by the Baltimore City Health Department in 2009. And it was an examination on youth violence. And what it found was that everywhere in the city where there were concentrations of liquor stores, there was another map that they overlaid all of those places where there were concentrations of liquor stores. There were also violence, guns, and homicides, shootings and homicides on top of each other. in the areas of the city where there were very few liquor stores, like Upper Northwest, Upper North Park Heights, there were very few liquor stores. Guess what? Very few homicides. So when we know that, and we still continue to perpetuate and pass laws, they had to actually go, the city of Baltimore delegation, the city council had to actually put forth a bill and go to the state house, and the entire state of Maryland delegation had to vote to increase the number of liquor licenses. And at one point in time, Baltimore City leads the nation in the last 20 years. Every other year, 10 out of the last 20, they've led the nation in homicides, and definitely juvenile homicides in particular. When you look at that, and you find out that Baltimore City had 500 liquor licenses over the legal limit. That means they already had liquor licenses that were selling out of carryouts and liquor stores and other establishments, bars, but then they had 500 more. And it wasn't until Mayor Rawlings Blake came into office and she reduced those liquor licenses to about 350. So imagine living in a community where there's a liquor store in every corner. And you have Johns Hopkins University, which is the #1 research university in the world. They receive more research dollars than any other place in the world. Can you imagine how come the health impact in Baltimore City has not changed?
Well, Darius, you know, we can go on. I want people to know how they can reach you, where they can get the stuff, where they can log on, where can they support, where can they get involved, and how can they take action? Please give that information.
Well, I got an opportunity to take a quick commercial for the Maryland Black Caucus Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. Can you imagine the 50th anniversary of the Legislative Black Caucus? So you're talking about people like Senator Blunt, who created the Blunt 10, the Blount 10. The Blount 10 were 10 Black senators that were powerful, and he made sure that they voted as a block so that they could make sure that things got done in the Senate and in the state of Maryland that benefited Black people. Then you had people like Mr. Perrin J. Mitchell, who founded not only the Black Caucus in the state of Maryland, but went on to Congress and found a Congressional Black Caucus. You also had people like Berta Welcome and our most recent Speaker of the House, Queen Adrienne. That's right, Adrienne Jones, Speaker of the House, the first woman to be Speaker of the House and first African-American to be the Speaker of the House. And what did she do? In her second session, she put together and put forward a Black agenda for the entire state of Maryland. And they passed the HBCU bill that got $577 million to the 4 HBCUs that the court said should have been $1 billion. They also passed the Blueprint for Education, which means that students in Maryland now will have universal pre-K. They also passed, repealed the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, which means that police officers can no longer take a week, up to a week, to turn themselves in when they're accused of a crime. These things were very critical and they were done. Maryland was the first to come forward with a minority business enterprise. So on November 12th and 13th, we're giving away 2 tickets here on You Be the Judge. Actually, we'll give you 2 tickets for next week. If somebody can just put in or share this show 5 times on Facebook, and then take a picture of it and send it to Mr. Dyer, send it to us on Facebook, put it in the chat, give us some way that you let us know the names that you shared this show with. 5 times, just share the show 5 times. And you'll be the first one to do that. And you'll get 2 tickets to the Black Caucus Gala and Concert. And the concert features none other than We Are One Band, which is a Frankie Beverly band, cover band, and Regina Bell. So you got an opportunity to see Regina Bell, who's a classic, and it's going to be in Maryland Live, and it's going to be a wonderful time. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, on the 12th, we'll actually be doing a conference with speakers and facilitators and dynamic people from all over the country talking about those 5 areas that I just mentioned. And also, that breakfast is going to be a business over breakfast with Kwesi Nfume, Congressman Kwesi Nfume. So please come on out. You got an opportunity to win 2 free tickets by just sharing the show 5 times. So how to reach us? Darius A. Stanton. So you can reach me at dariusastanton@gmail.com, or you can go to thelightsoftheroundtable.com, the lights of the round table. In addition to that, you can go to Peace in the Morning Show. That's Peace in the Morning Show. That's on Facebook and YouTube with Darius A. Stanton. And you can reach us at 301-453-7100 or 410-703-1898. Again, Darius A. Stanton @gmail.com. You can check us out this coming Friday morning on the Peace in the Morning Show with Darius A. Stanton and DJ 5 Star.
Thanks, Darius. Peace and love, brother. It's always a blessing. We do so much work together, but more work to be done. Marilyn, anything before we take off?
I think this was great. And thank you so much for the giveaway. We really appreciate it. I really hope a bunch of people share the show and send the information to us so that way they could get their tickets.
And for those of you who want to catch the show either on iHeart and iTunes and all that stuff, this is show 122. This is show on iHeart. This is 122. So keep moving forward. You guys have a blessed evening. Judge Claudia, Barber, anything before we take off?
No, I enjoyed the show as much as I could listen in, but thank you so much for this opportunity.
All right. Everyone have a blessed evening. Good night.
Thanks so much for having me.
Good night.